So I was cleaning out the pond. As you can see, we've got my nice top view ranchu here, and I bowled them up and I noticed that on the end of their fins, on a few of them, they had some black markings, and that wasn't there before. Now, what I think this is it's some kind of ammonia burn. And what must have happened was over the winter, as I didn't clean the pond out as much, there's been a build-up. I mean, you can see it there with the algae. Sometimes algae removes all of the nitrates, all of the ammonia. Sometimes it's there for, to show you that there's obviously a lot of more excess to consume, I guess. But yeah, that was not happy. I was not happy. Sorry about that. My favourite fish, and I wanted to nip it in the bud. I have had fish get it before, and it has been solvable. I've managed to do regular water changes and bring them back to full health. So that's what I decided to do. The only thing I could do. So I guess the plan was to do a water change. I need to make sure the algae was cleared out as much as possible before I did that. This blanket weed is something that I've had a problem with last year. I did dose, as you may have seen in the last video, some chemicals, but it doesn't seem to have done the job, to be honest. I'm still pulling out a lot. That's just one handful. Yeah, so I mean, I have heard before that you need to maybe alternate the chemicals you use. That's something that I might try. So we'll see. But I thought, what can I do now to try and solve this problem? Well, I can do a big water change. So that's what I decided to do. It was late at night. Had a very busy day at work, but I decided, let's do a massive water change, which is basically that whole indoor pond, that 750 litres. And I've done big water changes keeping goldfish before, and as long as you treat the water, it's absolutely fine. The filter is where all the good bacteria is, not in the water. So big water change, I scrub that indoor pond and fill it back up. Now, when filling it back up, I suddenly realised that I did not have any water treatment. I just said, look, as long as you treat the water, you'll be fine. But that's all I had. That is all the water treatment I had. So that was definitely not enough for 750 litres. So I went into a bit of a panic, really. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to just leave the pond, fill it up and just chuck the fish in. A lot of chlorine in my tap water. So the only thing I thought of was maybe I could move the filter temporarily to the outside, put it there where it used to be potentially, just over in the corner, and if I move it from there to outside, then I can bypass using that indoor ponder tool, and there might be just enough in that bottle of water to make sure that I can fill up the outside pond with dechlorinated water. So that's what I had to do. I almost put the fish in. I thought about it a lot, and I thought I'm almost going to put the fish in, but I decided not to. I thought this is what I'm going to have to do. So I filled up the outside pond and used whatever dechlorinator I had, which was probably not quite enough anyway. And it's not, I know I need to get different water conditioner really, but that's all they had at the shop. But yeah, so I used that, and then became the mammoth task, and it was about 10 o'clock at night at this point. I was outside, I'd been outside all evening already, after putting my little girl to bed, and I just put in what I could, and I knew that the next job was going to be to reroute the whole filter system. So finishing off the bottle, whatever was in there, just to make sure that I treated as much water as possible. Brilliant, not my idea. So here we go. Had to then at 10 o'clock at night try and sort out the rerouting the system, which basically wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It ended up being, cutting myself a bit, ended up being that I would drain the filter, take off the pipe, move the filter through the shed wall, and have a different pipe flowing out the end, because obviously I didn't want to use that one that was in there, because that would direct the water in two different directions. So I had an offcut that I managed to just slot in. So I slotted that in, and yeah, the idea was hopefully I'd solved the problem now. Now I was going to clean out the filter this water change as well, but I decided not to do that, so I didn't want to just upset the system anymore. So I just left that for another day. Also, I didn't want to take any more water out, in order to, because then I'd have to clean the sponges in that water, so I didn't want to do that. Now I've always got these little sponge filters, which is something that I had to move, but I've always got those on the go in case I need to separate a fish. And it was okay. It worked. It was good. We've managed to sort hopefully that problem out, to start with. But all fish in one pond now. As much dechlorinator as I had, I was worried for a second. Well, I was going to put them in undechlorinated water, which maybe people would say in the comments is actually fine, but I've never done it and I didn't want to take the risk. No leak as well, absolute bonus. So one of the first times I've ever put piping on and there's been no leak. So brilliant, all happy about that. So all was left to do was to take out the hose and make sure the lid was on, and that's it really. Making sure that hopefully crisis averted. That's one of those things when I'm glad that I paused for a second before actually just filling up and putting the fish in. So that was it for the day. Next day I did manage to go as soon as possible, when it was the next day, to my local garden centre, just having a little visit. I always have a look at what fish they've got there, mainly they've got common goldfish, which is a beautiful fish, as well as the fancy ones. We've got to give those some love, but early in the pond season here, so not much variety on show. A few Sarasa comets, with some interesting markings, some Tancho comets there as well, and I think they're overlooked often. Nice good hardy fish, especially if you're not going to spend too much time and maintenance on the pond. I don't want you to neglect things, but they do other kind of fish that live well in lots of different environments. So yeah, nice Sarasa comments there. I did also notice as well, they had a few of these. I thought I'd include some videos, some telescope pearl scales. I think they call them the dragon eye pearl scales, yeah. So I couldn't believe the prices of them as well. These little fish, 12 quid, something like that. Not my cup of tea in terms of not something I'd normally keep, but I do appreciate, this style of fish as well. But yeah, I just couldn't believe the price, to be honest with you. And they've got really interesting eyes, obviously those dragon eyes. It's something that some of you may have kept before. And I know there's some good breeders of pearl scales. We've got Ping Pong Pearl Scales, who I've met before at a goldfish event, and he's produced some really nice fish. Hopefully get to see him at some point this year. So yeah, just for the prices, these were actually not bad fish at all. I mean, again, not something that I would often keep, but I thought it was worth including a little bit of footage of these fish. And it was just one of your local kind of Maidenhead shops, really. I'm sure they're all getting the same thing in, so they've obviously probably got some of these available near you. But 20 quid for one of those, not bad. Okay, so the next day, after potentially making that huge mistake, which I didn't do, which I'm very pleased about, I managed to get back to the pond, and I thought while I was there I would net the London Shabumpkin and show it to you. The London Shabumpkin that in my last video escaped. I don't know if you saw it. It was a winter update on the pond, and I managed to, it basically just jumped out my hand as soon as I was trying to show it. So I thought I'd bowl it up here and I wanted to just show off how beautiful it was, really, these markings, and how much these long-bodied fish can be just as beautiful as the more exotic, fancy varieties. Got my new blue bowl here, which is a nice buy, just to really show off the colours. And you can see here, absolutely wonderful, that pattern. There is some blue in the scales, really that calico pattern that you'd find on all London shebumpkins. And this one in particular had a really nice size. The sort of front of its body was really quite large and thick, and some ginrin on there. You can see the shiny metallic scales. Yeah, looking really nice. So I just wanted to show that off, because last time it had jumped out of my hand and I hadn't got to do that. So using the crisis that almost was, using it in a positive way now to show some fish off. I've only got one. I might breed them in the future, but definitely this year it will be all about the Joaquin goldfish, trying to get those to breed. In the last video I showed the big female and the male that I plan on breeding. So if that's something you fancy following along for, feel free to subscribe, and it's something you can see in the future. But I kind of started a collection, really. That was the original aim for this pond, was to collect a variety of different long-bodied goldfish, the ones that often get overlooked. So obviously at the moment you can see a bit blurry footage, but there is my ranchu in the pond as well. Now this is my pair of calico Joaquin. One of they've both got a button eye, to be honest with you, actually, but you can see how the one at the back, swimming now on the right hand side I'm pointing at, that's a female. You can see the much thicker body, and that's the male, slender. So that thicker body there is going to be the female, and these are two that I may breed from in the future as well. I'm glad that I ended up with a pair. And I just wanted to also show you another fish that I've got. It's not a perfect example of a Joaquin at all, because what you'd really want is a split tail, and if you look at that tail, there is no split at all in the lobes, but it has got a pretty good tancho marking, which is not completely circular like you'd find in the koi world, but it's pretty good as far as they go. So yeah, this is just me showing off a few of my long-bodied goldfish before I sort of sort the pond out after the near crisis that I had last night. I say near crisis, it was, it would have been entirely my fault if I'd popped the fish in there and something had gone wrong, but I just thought I'd use this opportunity to show how the pond's going and a bit more footage that I had. So it was time that I could actually clean the filter out. My pond lily is starting again. You can see there the rhizome has got a shoot coming out of it, and I'll be amazed if that is full this year. I don't think I had it last year at all, but had to make sure I passed the plug out, got some tap water, and there's some tap safe, sorry, and this time we've got a lovely fresh kind of pond. Leaves are coming out again. Spring is nearly here. This video was shot a little bit of time ago. It's already spring now when this video's come out, but you can see how I was waiting, watching, hoping for all the signs, and there we go. So I think the pond is looking okay again. I'm going to keep doing small water changes to try and help with that slight ammonia burn. I'm also going to try and sort this shed out, because I want to turn it into a bit of a proper fish house, really, with some tanks in and stuff like that. So watch out for a video on that in the future. But this was just really an update on what's going on, a small crisis that I potentially averted, and it was only me running out of tap safe, so not too bad. But I want to keep updating what's going on with the pond. So if it's something you fancy following along with, make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching.